All right, call the Kingston Springs Beer Board to order. John, could you please call the roll?
Josh Heatherly is absent. Tony Gross.
Here.
Mike Hargis.
Here.
Jeff Lorenz.
Here.
Glenn Reynolds.
Here. We have a quorum. Do we have a motion to approve the September 4th, 2018 meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Do we have a motion to approve the June 20th, 2019 Beer Board meeting agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Our new business is a motion to approve the Thornton's beer permit application for 120 Liven Hills Road, Kingston Springs, Tennessee. Is there anything to be said about this? Or?
No, I mean, everything looked fine. I think you did a records check and nothing showed up. Is that correct?
Actually, they did.
They did and sent it to you.
Okay, yeah. And then there was some question as far as them being an LLC or incorporated. I sent documentation of that, so all of that looked good.
Great. All right. Do we have a motion to approve the Thornton's beer permit application?
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. The next item is the June 20th, 2019 public hearing. It's been advertised in the Advocate, and we'll call that meeting to order. Right now, we're open for public comments on the ordinance 19-002, which is, of course, the 2019-2020 budget. If you'd like to make a comment, just step up to the podium, state your name, and
Not about the budget, go ahead.
oh, okay, there'll be a time for that, and once we get past the public hearing. Is there anyone here that's here to speak about the budget? No. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, fantastic. All right. We get to do a lot of meetings in one time, real fast here, so this is the one I think you came for. We'll call to order the Kingston Springs Board of Commissioners meeting. Could everyone please rise and face the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, John, could you please call the roll?
Josh Heatherly is absent. Tony Gross.
Present.
Mike Hargis. Jeff Lorenz.
Here.
Glenn Reynolds.
Here.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the May 16th, 2019 City Commission minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the June 20th City Commission agenda? I don't believe we have any additions to it.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Announcements from commissioners. Jeff, do you have anything?
None.
Glenn?
Congratulations on the new fire truck. Looks really nice. I know you guys can spend a lot of time getting it loaded up. Still spending.
Yes.
Excellent. And congratulations to the town for securing such a great movie for this weekend's Movies in the Park. Dog's Way Home, which is the dog that was rescued from the Cheatham County shelter. So that's pretty cool.
Mike? No. All right. Now it's time for community input. If you'd like to address the commission, just come up to the podium, state your name and address, and you're free to. We have quite a few people here, and we're not trying to be rude or anything. Just as procedural rules go, we won't actually answer questions, but you're free to.
No problem. My name is Richard Swafford. I live on East Kingston Springs Road, about halfway between this red light and Pegram red light. I'm here in opposition of rezoning this property up here beside the storage unit for maybe apartments. Reason being, the traffic we can't handle. I mean, in the mornings if there's a wreck on interstate, the traffic is backed up from Pegram past my house. Sometimes I have to go down to the high school, turn around to get in line to get out. I mean, that's just, and the apartments in Kingston Springs, we don't need it, we don't want it. I mean, rental property in Kingston Springs, ask Chief Ivy how many times his officers had to go up in rental properties. Are all renters bad people? No, of course not. But It's not good for our city. You know, they sign a 12 months lease, first and last month's rent. We've got 20, 30-year mortgages that we committed to. You know, if the builders want to build apartments, then go to Bellevue. It's just 6 or 8 minutes. You know, and the people that want to rent apartments, let them go to Bellevue. You know, and it's just my opinion, but I don't think we need it. You know, I wish I'd spoke up about the gas stations. Our little town, 5 gas stations? Well, it was 2 to service us. Let's think about the people that live here versus people off the interstate. I mean, every morning I get on the interstate, get on the route, 4 or 5 trucks with no parking zone signs. They're parked there anyway. Trash everywhere. Why? We don't need all that stuff. And again, that's just my opinion. But is anybody here against apartments?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Would anyone else like to step to the podium and name and address and
My name is Doug Winters. I live at 275 East Kingston Springs Road, and I'm against the rezoning myself. I think that, as Richard was talking, traffic just can't handle it. And especially, I'm thinking about Miss Eva right down below, and the impact it's going to have on her and her small piece of property. And I don't know what kind of, I haven't seen the civil engineering or anything like that, but as far as the runoff, how is that going to affect her? Affect the creek? And anyway, it's a dangerous curve right there. I call East Kingston Springs Road the speedway. Because when you get 2 tractor trailers come across right there, it's real narrow. And I'm right there where that ditch is. And I've talked to some folks about that ditch before. And there's been 2 that I know of that has been life flighted out because of that ditch. And they need some sort of shoulder right there. But anyway, get back to the rezoning, I'm definitely against it. I don't think we need apartments, and we don't need to be another building. I mean, I moved down here to be away from stuff like that. And I've been here 33 years, and I hope we continue to, live a life without a bunch of traffic and more traffic than what we got. So, thank you all for your time.
would anyone else like to address the commission?
Dot Harper, and I live in the Harpeth Meadows neighborhood. I've only been here 2 years. This is my first meeting to attend, so I don't know a lot of how all this works. I would like to say that I moved, first of all, from West Nashville to get away from a lot of the building. A few years ago, I moved to the Charlotte Pike area, right at the forks of 70 in Charlotte. And then when all of the new Bellevue 1 came in, it's getting to be like Green Hills. And so I moved here 2 years ago, and I see it coming here. I'm against the apartments. We don't need any more gas stations. If we could have something to serve the people that are here, of course you can't stop progress, but you need to work with what you have and what the people need here instead of just people running up and down the interstate. And I appreciate it.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the commission? Came all the way out. Free podium there. So it's not. All right. Anybody else would like to speak? Department reports. Do we have anything? Everyone's seen the packet, but is there anything to add to the department reports? No. Legal updates, anything, Jennifer?
No, I don't have anything.
All right. Item 10A under unfinished business is second reading of ordinance 19-002 for the 2019-2020 budget. And as you all have seen and read, these are amended numbers from what was passed last month. so I guess it would be as amended. Do we have a motion to pass the ordinance 19-002 on second reading?
Motion to pass ordinance 19-002 as amended.
Second.
Is there any conversation, any discussion that needs to happen? Anyone have any questions, concerns?
I would like to strongly encourage us, though I think I like all the stuff in this budget, to,
Capital outlay budget?
yes,
And I believe,
100%. I know we got an email on that today, but.
yes, I 100% agree. All right, John, could you please call the roll?
Josh Etherly is absent. Tony Gross.
Yes.
Mike Hargis.
Yes.
Jeff Lorenz.
Yes.
Glenn Ritter.
Yes.
All right, ordinance 19-002 has passed on second reading. On to new business. Item A is first reading of ordinance 19-003, rezone request for East Kingston Springs Road, rezoning a combined lot consisting previously of map 96KC parcels 33, 35, and 36, establishing a new single lot as R3 PUD. We do have our city planner here. Sharon, would you like to just come and speak briefly to this rezone for the commission?
The applicant, Mr. McPherson, has been the subject of an ongoing notice of violation over the past year. We've been working with the applicant to clear that notice of violation. Significant work has been done to complete that. During the Planning Commission meeting, it was determined that if he made substantial progress towards that, he could file an application for rezone. These parcels are also the subject of a PUD overlay that was established by the City Commission in excess of a year ago. We anticipated that growth would eventually make its way to Kingston Springs, so the PUD was established in order to give the city more control over what happens with parcels. So Mr. McPherson filed his application, requested to combine the 3 lots that he owned. One was C2 commercial, the other 2 R1 single-family residential low density. He combined those on a plat that was approved by the Planning Commission to ease partially the NOV that was in place because he was crossing parcel lines with the work, and also to proceed towards the development that he originally presented to the Planning Commission in excess of 3 years ago. So it was filed, the Planning Commission heard it, they recommended it forward to the City Commission for approval with the understanding that there are a number of outstanding things that will have to be addressed, including a traffic study and a number of other things before he can proceed. So this is simply, it's not approval of any development on the property. It's simply a consideration of rezoning.
And that's, I think, something important to consider. This property is not anywhere close to developable. There's many, many steps before anything like that could happen.
There are the requirements for that development.
Just for the clarification of the board, in case they aren't, could you explain what we've done with the PUD overlay and all,
Yes.
and what that means as far as the other properties throughout the town? I think it might just be useful for this vote and for the folks that are here.
That's correct. Are there any questions from anyone that I can answer?
Well, that sort of was, I was asking, could you explain a PUD overlay? Just so
I
that
certainly
the folks
can.
here
What a
would
PUD is,
understand
planned
exactly what we're
unit.
talking about and what we've done with
is.
other properties. So.
And specifically for this property, it is an R-PUD. This is Residential Planned Unit Development Overlay. We established that on several parcels around town in excess of a year ago. The purpose of a PUD is to give the city more control over the way a parcel develops. It also affords for the developer and the city to enter into a contract for development. And that contract lays out the perimeters and the circumstances of what can and cannot be done on that property. It's a negotiated agreement between the developer and the city. In addition to that, an HOA is established so that the property is maintained, that there is an HOA that's established that looks after everything. It also governs the control of infrastructure, how it's laid in, where it's laid in, the roads, and all the appurtenances for a particular development. This property in particular has several challenges that will limit what can be developed on it. having nothing to do with the rezoning. There's a blue line stream that runs across one entire end of the first parcel of this property. Nothing can be developed on a blue line stream. In addition to that, there are topographical challenges with this parcel as well that limit what can be built. So essentially, the development potential for these three parcels as they work their way from Kingston Springs Road backward is kind of a center section that runs the length of those three lots. What's been proposed as a concept for this particular property is an apartment complex with 51 to 54 units. The last count that we had, because of topographical issues and drainage issues and a number of other things that exist on the sloped areas, it will be limited to 51 just by the topography and the slope and the blue line. So in addition to that, they have to survive a traffic study. The Planning Commission, with a lot of foresight, changed the traffic study requirements. That's been about 8 months ago. They're more intense. They require them not only to include just that road, but the interstate exit. Previous traffic studies have to be incorporated as well. So that will also be a limiting factor for development. The third thing that restricts this property more than anything else is traffic control on a state road. So there are particular circumstances that the state requires. The traffic cannot exceed a certain number of units. It cannot exceed a certain curvature for the line of sight going down the road. So there are a lot of challenges with developing in that area. We've conveyed those to the applicant and explained to him what his steps are and all of the reviews and the documents and the technical drawings that he will have to present and survive in order to move forward.
Thank you, sir.
Who does the actual study, the traffic study, the DOT?
I'm so sorry, Mr. Hargis, but I'm hard of hearing.
I'm sorry, I'll speak up a little bit. Who does the actual study? DOT?
DOT does have control over connections to the road.
Right, because it's a
As
state
you
road.
drive through any town or city or county, you'll see these signs on the side of the road, connection by state permit only. We normally, on roads that they provide aid for and assistance for, coordinate with them to work through what's the best traffic pattern, what will cause the least impact, the timing of things as well. So that particular issue, in all the years I've been doing this, it's going to surface pretty readily. It's going to be a challenge for the applicant to survive that.
I believe what Mike had said more specifically is who performs the traffic study.
The traffic study is performed by the applicant. There are perimeters within your regulations that prescribe exactly how it has to be done. We redid the subdivision regulations and the zoning ordinance several months back to stiffen the requirements of what has to be included. Before, your threshold for a traffic study was much higher. You had to hit 100 units of anything before you even were required to do that, or you had to be a commercial development with a high traffic volume, much like the gas stations or those types of businesses. So it was stiffened to the point that if you are developing 50 units or more, you're required not only to do a traffic information study, you're required to incorporate the TPR that TDOT did for Kingston Springs several years back. You're also required to incorporate all of the traffic volume for the adjacent and connecting corridors and roads. So what that does, before they were done kind of in a little bubble, so you're really only studying kind of from your driveway to the next intersection and then providing that information. Now you're required to take in all of the traffic volume from the perimeter past the school where the next adjacent intersection is, all the way down to the next school where the next adjacent intersection is, and then all the way up Lavin Hills Road to the interstate. So that volume number will be much greater than traffic study information in the past. And that is reviewed by an engineer, and there's an acceptable level of volume. And for your edification, your interstate exits at this point are rated F by TDOT. So there's not a lot of tolerance for traffic because it becomes a public safety issue at that point.
Rated F because of the volume of traffic on the interstate.
And the arch of the bridge.
Well, volume is part of it. Mr. Remick, but also what's part of it is the stacking availability on Liven Hills Road, and you can't direct traffic around the corner through a red light towards your school. So all those things get taken into consideration when we look at it.
Typically, the applicant will hire an engineer, they do the study, and then our engineer reviews the.
Reviews their study.
Just curious about the process.
All right. Are there any other questions for the planner? All right. And also, I think that important in this process to understand is this, when the city commission addresses this, this is sort of the second phase of this, right? So this goes to the planning commission first. The planning commission makes a recommendation. They're the ones that spend the time on the project. That's their job. Their job is to look at these projects, spend time making sure that the applicants abide by what the city has asked them to do and those sorts of things. I've worked with Sharon and the planning commission. They have those meetings, they discuss it, they make a recommendation to the city commission after that. So that's what we're doing tonight, is voting on the recommendation of the planning commission.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Do we have a motion to approve ordinance 19-003, rezone request for East Kingston Springs Road on first reading?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
John, could you please call the roll? Or, sorry, is there anything anyone would like to add? Conversation?
One more question.
I apologize.
I'm sorry, one more question. Where are we with the fill issue?
The fill issue, phase 1 has been completed, with the exception of a small amount of fill material. Phase 2, the material that was removed has been sorted into suitable and unsuitable fill in lines. We conduct inspections routinely. We require them to furnish us with haul tickets for the fill material that's unsuitable in appropriate landfill. Once the unsuitable fill is removed and it's been re-inspected to make sure that there are no issues with the fill that's going in the ground, we can then issue a permit for installation. It is inspected at every 18 inches. Engineering data is collected at every 18 inches, and it's compacted at that level. Then they will move on to phase 2. Phase 3 cannot be touched and has not been touched because the zoning had not been heard. So there's no activity on the third parcel in your rear. But they are progressing. It's been a little bit of a protracted process, but they are responding to the suggestions of the staff and the recommendations, and they're responding to the order that was issued by the Planning Commission with the steps necessary to do so.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we have a motion that's been first and second. John, could you please call the roll?
Josh Heatherly is absent. Tony Gross.
Yes.
Mike Hargis.
Yes.
Jeff Lorenz.
No.
Glenn Remick.
Yes.
All right. Motion passes. Next item. Sorry, I turned my page here. All right, item B is motion to approve resolution 19-004, which is support for Dinner on Main event. Don, would you like to just talk a little bit about the event and where we are on planning and dates and all that good stuff, and then we'll...
Yes, sir. Thank you. Dinner on Main is a fundraising event to help support our Farmers and Artisans Market here in Kingston Springs, which is Saturday mornings from 9 to 12 in beautiful downtown Kingston Springs. Dinner on Main event is our third year. It's September 9th of this year. September 8th, thank you. Sunday afternoon, September 8th of this year. And this resolution is part of enabling the town to sponsor and produce the event.
Do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Item C is discussion of the TAP grant sidewalk project and sidewalk placements along Woodlands Drive.
As we know, the town was awarded a TAP grant, which is Transportation alternative program. The TAP grant for the sidewalks will go from Cedar, along Parkview Trail from Cedar Court to the northern entrance of East Kingston Springs Road, and then down to connect existing sidewalks, as well as from on Woodlands Drive from Parkview Trail at the top to East Kingston Springs Road at the bottom. The sidewalk along Parkview Trail will mimic the side of the sidewalk that the Safe Routes to School grant will give us, which will be on the middle school side of the Parkview Trail.
That's referred to as the south side? That's
In this particular discussion, it's not referred to as either the north or the south.
So it's kind of like northeast-west, actually.
As the road curves along a big horseshoe, it kind of goes north, south, east, and west. But
you're saying it'll be on the middle school side?
it'll be on the middle school side of Parkview Trail.
All the way around the loop there?
Yes.
Okay.
And the TAP grant will also continue upon the middle school side, basically, of Parkview Trail, then it went from Cedar Court around to East Kingston Springs Road. The question that our engineers would like to have answered so they can begin surveying is which side of Woodlands Drive the sidewalk will go on. So supplied some information, some pros and cons about either side of Woodlands Drive in your packet from the engineers. And they requested a discussion and a possible decision on what side of Woodlands for that sidewalk to be placed so they can start their surveying process.
Okay, so which one's Woodlands Drive?
It basically bisects that curve of Parkview Trail. So
Parkview Trail is the one that
It's
goes by the
Jeff Street.
school.
correct. Okay, if you stay on East Kingston Springs Road, as you're going towards Pegram,
Right.
middle school is on your left, high school is on your right. As you keep on going towards Pegram, you'll pass Fire Hall number 3, the EMS station,
Correct.
and then that first road to your left is Woodlands Drive.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
If you came running with us every Tuesday night, you'd know these
Well, I
things.
know. I got bad news. I'll walk behind
We have one inside, a resident of that street. Do you know if there's any sentiment on the street as to which side the sidewalk would best be placed?
Don't know. What I can say is, on my side, it's way flatter the entire way on the side of the road, whereas on the other side, the ditches are much greater due to how they bed the drainage line.
Mhm.
So which side?
Yeah, I can
Are
see that.
you on the south side?
No idea.
You don't know? Because of direction.
Thought we just established we had no idea.
Yeah.
Now, for Woodlands Drive, from the engineering perspective, the south side is considered, if you're standing on East Kingston Springs Road and you're looking up Woodlands Drive, the south side is considered to be the right side of the road.
So
The
it's-
north side is considered to be the left side.
Okay, so you live on the north side.
Okay.
But you're saying that the north side's the one with the drainage ditches pretty?
No, south side. My side is pretty much flat all the way down with the exception of where Bob Sanders lives.
And I feel like that would be the most logical way to do it when you think about how those other sidewalks, the Safe Routes to School and the other TAP grant are going to run,
It would tie in.
It would tie around you.
Harborview Trail.
have to cross the street and
Yeah.
then join over to that sidewalk otherwise. So it would make sense, the continuity would flow that way, I think.
Seems that there's a 6-inch water line on the south side.
Yeah, it is. That's one of the
And probably
concerns.
the gas and everything else.
Yeah. One of those.
But they're gonna be dealing with that all the way up Harborview Trail.
Yeah, because they've got utility on the other side of the road too, right?
It's on the same side that they're looking at.
Do we have a motion to suspend the rules to allow this gentleman to speak real quick? Second? Or I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Come on.
My name's Ron Yoho, and I live down here on Ellerslie Way, that subdivision with a sidewalk that goes nowhere. And we want to know, if you're going to put sidewalks all around the city, why can't you complete the sidewalk from Ellerslie Way, which is like maybe 300 feet, 400 feet, to the city, to downtown? You know, in the past, they've told us there's a ditch down there and they can't cross it. Well, I mean, they put conduit in there and run it across. You get the same problem on Barbecue Trail. You know, Woodlands drives downhill, you know, so there's no good reason they can't, unless somebody down there doesn't want to give them, wants to stop and got more power at the city than anybody else. So.
I appreciate the comment. I think that this board is generally for sidewalks anywhere we can find ways to do them, so that it's certainly something.
We've tried twice before and they've turned us down.
With the city?
City. With the commission, yes.
Yeah. It's something we certainly would look into, is finding a way to do that.
The developer was required to put in sidewalks with, you know, when he contracted with the city to develop it there.
Mm-hmm.
With the understanding the city was going to run it on down. It's been 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and nothing's happened.
I appreciate the comment. All right, motion to throw the rules.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, in regards to the TAP grant, do we have a recommendation?
Well, yeah, I'm still a little confused. I mean, the recommendation we got was with the reservation that we're going to be covering up the water line, the 6-inch water line. It's our right of way. We have the right to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It appears that he thinks that's the better of the two options if we're covering them up on the other side too.
No.
No, we're not.
I'm not sure.
The side where the water lines are
Yeah,
is
the
way
water-
flatter
Yeah.
than the other side,
Yeah.
to where everything is draining to, and there's several, I mean, it's flat on a majority of it, but there are parts where, I mean, it's 5-6 foot below the road.
It seems to be on the north side of gas line and the telecom.
They're all on the same side.
Just so I'm clear, what we're recommending is doing it on the side that makes more sense with the tie-in to the other.
Correct,
grant.
it's the same side
Okay.
as the water and everything
Right.
else.
But as I read that, he said.
So the south side has a water line, the north side has a gas line.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that, they're
Okay.
covering up something either
Okay.
way.
You're going to do it either way.
And he's saying that, hey, the water line folks aren't gonna be happy about the fact that we're covering it up with concrete, because if something happens, then you gotta blast the concrete out of there with a jackhammer.
South side's water line?
Uh-huh, that's right.
What we said.
That's what it says.
So we wouldn't be covering the water line.
We wouldn't be.
We would not.
The north side would cover the gas line, would be the gas line, the telecom lines. The south side would be the water line.
Okay, and you're saying the south side's the better of the two?
You're saying the
choices.
north side is the better
You're saying
than
the
the
flatter-
east side.
Okay,
For a majority of it.
well, that's why I'm confused. So north side ties in better to the other?
That is true also,
That would be-
because it'll be on the same side.
The sidewalks run alongside the middle school and all the way around, and then it would just be a logical turn
It'd be a
around that
circle.
way to connect.
That never crossed the road.
That being said, the TAP grant will also continue on around the other side of Harpeth Meadows too. So, you know, I guess.
Is this the engineer? Spalding?
Yes.
So the engineer has suggested that it be placed on the southern side.
And the TAP grants are the basic reason we're looking at this sidewalk, because we're getting so much help from the state, right?
That's right. We have a TAP grant to do these two projects, or these sidewalks. And what it does, of course, is when we got the Safe Routes to School grant, it was a great grant, it's a 100% grant, and it gave us another one of those sidewalks to nowhere. So what the TAP grant does is ties that sidewalk to nowhere into the sidewalk system, and of course we'll put the sidewalks through that entire neighborhood. So you'll be linked on foot basically from the parks all the way through the woodlands. It'll be quite a way to stretch, and then of course with the multimodal grant down through Liven Hills as well.
All right, that helps me. At least I understand what I'm voting on here.
Yeah.
How much TAP grant help are we getting?
What's the percentages of the TAP
The
grant?
town's responsible for 100% up to construction, and from construction to completion, it's an 80-20. With the town responsible for 20%, state 80%.
Responsible for 80.
I remember us talking about that.
It's not.
That's too good a deal to pass up.
It's not quite as appealing as the 95 and the 100%, but it's pretty close.
That's, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so is there any, do we have a motion to recommend one of these sides?
I make a motion that we construct it on the north side, and that we approve that plan. And it covers up the gas line.
Do we have a second? I mean, you know, in all honesty.
And only because
The engineer recommends the other side.
is saying the
That's
other
what-
side.
That's what I was struggling
and
with. so.
He probably knows more about sidewalk
Construction than we do.
than I do.
That's
I mean, it wouldn't hurt anything to do it that way. I mean, when you think about it, of course, I guess when we do the second phase of those sidewalks, then that side would be just as long. It doesn't really matter. That's what the engineer recommends, then we should just do it.
But his concern's drainage, which can lead to
A problem.
lots of problems. So,
So we have the road coming on this side, the school side, comes up to the corner, and then if it was on the north side, it would just connect. Correct.
it makes more sense on the north
It
side.
makes more sense on the other north side.
But you have to consider that we will eventually also have sidewalks that come around here. So if you're thinking about it from walking from this direction, then it's logically it's going to connect that way too. So
Most of these are going to be.
it does seem like
on the same side.
most people would probably be coming this way. It seems like that would be the most logical. I mean, when you think about navigating it, but once again, we're talking about
And the
walking
engineer
across a relatively
has spoken.
non-busy street.
I'm not sure, Mike, if you had seen the engineer's notes that he's talked to the water company already, and they're like, it's fine if they cover up the water.
Yeah.
Is this possible to table to the next one?
It's possible if you would like to. It's up to the board.
Does that put us?
Does it slow anything down?
It will put us a bit behind schedule, but it's just 4 weeks.
Well, I mean, when I first read it,
I'll
I
be
said
happy.
the south
I'll
side
like
makes
it.
sense because of the
Everybody's house.
foundation, but after hearing you talk to Jeff about what ties in better, which side's flatter, it makes a case for the north side.
But I'm not the one putting them in.
Right.
I drove it and I looked and I.
Makes a
I-
case for the south side.
It didn't make, it didn't, I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I mean, we run through it all the time, but I never really thought too much about it.
So the
I sort of
engineers-
assumed that, I mean, in my mind, I assumed it would be on the north side, but if the engineer's recommendation is to do the south side.
We have a motion.
We have a motion for the north side, I believe. Do we have a second?
I just don't know.
Do we have any other motions?
Motion for the south side.
Do we have a second? I'll second it.
There you go.
Any discussion?
No more discussion.
All
I'm
right.
good.
And this is just a recommendation from the board, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining?
Abstaining.
Abstain, okay.
We know who's going to get the heat.
We have three
Wrong side.
ayes and one abstention, so I guess the recommendation is to follow the advice of the engineer with the south side.
Probably a smart thing to do.
So,
All right.
okay.
I'm sorry for making that difficult.
Oh, no, it's all good.
It's the most action we've had on a meeting in months. All right. Motion to approve resolution 19-005, approval for Town of Kingston Springs to participate in the benefits for employees that enrolls them in the pension plan. And Debbie, I think you can fill us in a little bit more. We discussed this at last month's meeting as
Yeah,
well.
we did, and then, because, the state was telling me they already had this resolution in place. And then last week, I got a call from them and said that, well, we were gonna have to back up and pay for an employee that is already retired, and we hadn't been taking it out. And I said, well, you need to produce a resolution for me, because I don't have anything, I can't find anything. And so then she called me back and said that after research, they discovered that they did not have a resolution in place. So this is a resolution, and this is the benefit for your employees that retire. This only is if these employees join the Tennessee plan. I mean, they can't join anything else and get this benefit. It's only if they use a plan through the state.
How much does that plan run? Do you know?
The liability to the city for the employees that you have that are, is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I know it's 50 a month, so 600 a year per employee. That's
Depending on,
they're on Social Security. This is the supplemental portion through the state.
Right, and
Correct.
that's not necessarily 600. It depends on their years of service.
Right. Right.
So,
Okay.
I mean, you have an employee now that's retired that doesn't have the 30 years, so that person would not get
right.
that amount.
Yeah.
But, so right now, the city's liability would be $37.50 a month.
Okay.
And that would be for current and future, you can't go back retroactively.
Right.
So it would just be from the state board.
Right. Right. So what we need to do here is pass the resolution.
You have to pass a resolution for the state to offer that to the retiree that you presently have, and then for your future retirees.
Okay, well, I'm good then. Thank you.
All right, do we have a motion to approve Resolution 19-005?
I'll move that we approve.
Second?
Second.
Second. All right, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes. We have no surplus items this month, so that's good. The reminders are the Kingston Springs summer camps are June 17th through the 21st, and the 24th through the 28th. So one of those is in. Wait, how's the summer camp going? Good?
I wish it's peachy.
Just beachy? Pretty good.
No, it's been good.
Good, that's good. So you have the young kids now, right?
I do.
Okay. Great. Then this Saturday, we've got a movie in the park, something that we haven't had for a very long time, and it's going to be A Dog's Way Home, as Glenn mentioned. Kingston Springs Farmers Markets every Saturday, of course, from 9 to 12. And the last thing Josh wanted me to mention is at the Pegram July 4th festivities, there's going to be a Family Feud event where there will be members of the Kingston Springs community competing against members of all the other communities throughout the county of Cheatham. And Josh and myself and Lucas Winstead from the elementary school will be amongst those competing in that. So.
Well, we'll come cheer for you.
Come cheer us on. Come cheer us on. So. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?